Hello, everybody. This is communication coach Dr. Josh Hammonds, and I wanted to come to you today to address an issue that I'm getting lots of questions about recently: Zoom fatigue. Are you experiencing Zoom burnout, or is it something different altogether? See, I'd like to challenge this notion that we're all experiencing Zoom fatigue just because we have back-to-back meetings throughout the day. And I might argue that it's not fatigue we're experiencing, but we just haven't been stimulated like we would in a face-to-face interaction. How many avid coffee drinkers are there in this community? Well, imagine if you are a coffee drinker, imagine if it's noon and you still haven't had that first cup of coffee. Would you tell someone that you're experiencing fatigue? No, you would just basically say, I haven't been stimulated yet by my caffeine. Well, the same thing happens with our conversations. See, every time we communicate with somebody, whether it's a meeting or in a hallway, there's a content dimension to that conversation, but then there's also a relational dimension to that conversation. The content deals with the meeting, the agenda, the tasks at hand, but then there's also a relational component, things that you did over the weekend, things that you thought were funny, shows that you watched last night. All of those conversations actually add up and stimulate our reward centers in our brain. See, dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, all of those are stimulated when we talk about relational things, things that we think are funny, things that might interest us, things that make us feel good because of what somebody said, because of the feedback that they had. And I would argue that we are not receiving those relational portions of the conversation when we're having our Zoom meetings. And so I'd like to give you some tips and tricks on how you might stimulate the reward center in the brain to create a buffer to prevent Zoom fatigue that's happening throughout the day. First things first, save time for relational talk in your Zoom meetings. What do I mean by that? Make sure the first 5 minutes or the last 5 minutes or both are reserved for conversations about your lives. What's going on during the pandemic? What shows did you think were funny? What are some interesting things that happened at the house during lockdown? Those sorts of conversations are necessary and will stimulate our reward center so that it will buffer us against the stress of the meeting. Second thing, keep the meeting and the content portion of the meeting more condensed. We have to have an agenda, and when we talk about work issues, we might need to rehearse them, we might need to write them out, but keep that portion smaller so that you can save time for the relational portion conversation in the meeting. Third thing, get a good microphone and a good headset and disrupt the meeting with relational aside comments. What do I mean by that? Tell somebody, ooh, I really like that idea, or oh my goodness, that was hilarious what you just said. It's okay to disrupt it in that way because that will add to the pleasure center of the brain. Wow, you did like my idea. Wow, you did think what I said was interesting or funny. Those sorts of tactics are going to provide you with enough strength to last throughout the day as you talk about the content portions of the meeting. Anyway, I hope those tips help you.